before the improv. No, it was Stand Up Live in Phoenix. He goes, if you were Jewish, you'd be behind me on a stick. That was the joke. And the crowd's like, oh!
In all fairness, that is a good one.
And I'm like, I gotta go out now?
That joke is right up there with your boy John McGinley in Platoon. His Jewish joke.
What are you saving up to be? I'll take Jewish? Jewish.
It's the same thing. They all laughed at that one too, remember?
So, yeah.
No, Platoon's like, oh.
I go up to Walken at lunch because I got to talk to him because all I hear in my head, it's like he hypnotized me. Like, your dog has no tail.
Right.
And he's not sitting with everyone else. He's alone. He's got a cup of noodles. And I know it's cup of noodles because it says cup of noodles on it. Oh. And it says it on the top in case you go by in a helicopter.
Sure. Yeah.
So I figure a good way to end into cyclical conversation would be to say, what's that? Hey, what do you got? Cup of noodles? And he goes, no. And I'm like, just... Every time I try, and he opens it, and I watched him peel it open. He goes, "These are scallops I brought from home." It was filled with scallops. Like how? But it was still sealed and everything. Like he lives in the side of a fucking volcano.
He's a magical man.
He is a magical man. And then now I know I got to talk. I got to say something because I got to get this out of my body. So I go, "What would you rather?" I say the first thing that came to my mind, which, as you know, is a horrible thing for all of us. I go, "What would you rather do? Be able to fly or have a tail?" And right when I said it, I felt like a Brian Regan bit like, oh no, I hope that doesn't reach his ears. And I swear to God, Quinn, he goes, I'm so glad that you asked me that. It was like we were the only two men alive. I'm so glad you asked me that. A tail, of course, because you could always get on an airplane with your tail. And they just fucking ate his scallops, and I went back and just didn't tell anybody that story until I went on stage that night.
Oh.
And I've been riding it.
I'd rather fly. So freaking tail is useless. Ah. But what about the fact that walking...
But it's easy for you to say you'd be hot with a tail. We'd look like jerks.
Yeah.
Oh, you should.
Strap it onto your leg.
What am I, the tail bomber? LOL.
But I met Walken a couple of times on SNL, and I always tried to connect with him. And he really wanted nothing to do with me whatsoever. And the first time I met him, because my family used to go to Walken's Bakery in Queens. Walken's Bakery was like a famous bakery. Yeah. Even I heard about Walken's Bakery before Chris Walken. Maybe he was sort of famous, but it was
when I was a dancer.
Yeah, he was a dancer. But they had that big bakery, and I was like, hey, Walken's Bakery. You know, my family. I told some boring story about how my family. Like one time we had this thing where my aunt with one leg and we were trying to get this thing to bring her to the hospital and somebody had to go to Walken's Bakery and you had to take the J train to, it was in Ridgewood. And I told him the whole story, but I figured at least it'd bring back all these memories. Because, I started naming streets by Walken's Bakery and Ridgewood. And he just goes like this, yes. We're at SNL. You think you want to be polite while I'm writing it.
King George? What was that?
He just goes, yes, and turns away. He goes, looks at the wall. Doesn't even look at me. He goes, that was a long time ago.
That was a long time ago.
The hell?
Was it hard? Was there anybody you worked with on SNL as a cast person? Because I was very open about it in my book. That Schneider was just a fucking dick. But the problem with him was he ran hot and very cold, and and every once in a while he'd be lukewarm, and you were like, he'd go, "What the fuck do you know, rookie? Keep to yourself, man. Who gives a fuck what you think, man? Jesus, what the fuck are we doing, man?" And then he would come up to you 2 days later and massage your shoulders like fucking, Capone and go, how come we don't write together anymore, man? Oh. But Ellen was so bananas, you didn't have to say hi to her in the hallway.
Ellen Cleghorn?
Yeah.
She was in my junior high school.
Really?
88, yeah.
That was a long time ago.
It was a long time ago.
Who, when you were there,
name
names, who was, you were like, this fucking guy?
No, when I was there, remember something. When I was there, everybody was new. Everybody. So it was a different dynamic. Like, we were the ones that came in because the show was about to get canceled. So I was just...
There was nobody you didn't like the cut of their jib?
I mean, Will, Caan was my roommate. I loved Caan. I liked Will Brewer. I mean...
Fucking Will's so fun. I'm powerless over Will.
Will Ferrell?
Yeah.
Funny as shit, man.
It's like the funniest human.
Oh, my God.
When he used to go on Conan as Robert Goulet.
Oh.
Goulet.
But he used to come to like...
I've been doing a lot of driving, Johnny. Watch out for Doc.
He would show up, but he would show up in character for like a week straight wearing the same outfit. And like, and if people would be like pissed, like, hey, man, you're starting to wear the same clothes. They're pretty dirty. would just wear this giant belt, like he would be this different character, and they weren't even famous characters, except that what's his
Will Ferrell, you listen to this?
Will Ferrell would show up
At SNL.
At SNL, like I don't even know what these characters are supposed to be. I just noticed hey,
but they never made it to air.
No, they weren't sketches. They were just these characters. But he'd come in with he wore this big belt.
He'd stay in character all week at SNL.
And I mean,
You mean that for a while he ran around in that black unitard thing was like part of fake improv.
no, with that other guy, right? When he did that, right? I forgot about that creepy improv group. But this was a thing where he'd wear
They smelled bad and they were hilarious.
That's right, and he'd wear this he wore these tight jeans when nobody's wearing tight jeans with this big Garrison belt and this open shirt. And he'd just be walking around and a little tie on the top.
A kerchief.
Yeah, like a kerchief. And he'd walk around and the guest was that week, he'd be like, hey, what's up? And he'd go, hello, I'm Ron. And then we'd go, oh, that's great. And he's like, yeah. And then Pete Diddy was the guest on that week and he walks out in the middle of the rehearsal.
Pete Diddy, known for being a crack up.
Right. And he walks out in the middle of the rehearsal when Pete Diddy's out with his boys and he goes, I'm Ron. And Pete Diddy's like, hi, Ron. And it's just he just walked away. He would just do this creepy thing, but it was not part of the show.
Was he doing Ron Burgundy?
No, it was way before Ron Burgundy. Ron Burgundy.
But did Pete Diddy?
Ron Burgundy was. Did Pete Diddy what?
Did he know it was Will Ferrell doing a character, or did people just think it was
well known?
Did they just think it was like Tom Schiller?
He was a bizarre dude rolling around.
It was just a creep. But he would do these characters, and it was so funny because he'd just be walking around the whole day outside, just doing these characters. But it was he wouldn't even talk. You could talk to him normally, and he'd be normal, and it was really just for himself,
Tell us our favorite Will Ferrell story about Jimmy.
Oh, when Will Ferrell did Elf with Jimmy Caan. You know what he got Jimmy Caan as a rap gift?
What?
He got him the Godfather trilogy, and in the letter to Jimmy Caan, who thinks he's funny. We tried to get him on the podcast, and he went fucking crazy. I'll tell you that. I sent his, all right, so Will Ferrell gives him the Godfather trilogy, and in the note, it says, Jimmy, the first one's pretty boring, but once you get past that, the other two are kick-ass.
Oh.
And Jimmy loses his shit, but doesn't get it at all.
Of course.
Then he liked it.
He liked it.
Hey, guess
5
what?
years later on the set of Las Vegas, when you explained to him how funny it was, he goes, yeah, I guess it's pretty funny.
No, wait a minute.
Famous deaths.
Let me just say one thing in defense of the Jimmy Caan part of that. If somebody walked up to Will Ferrell every day and goes, hey, the Christopher Walken thing, more cowbell.
Right.
After a couple of years, somebody goes, hey, watch SNL. You'll be bored by this guy, Will, but the other people are funny. He'd find that annoying, too. So let's not act like we're all above that. You know what I'm saying? Think about it.
I adore Jimmy Caan. You don't have to.
I love Jimmy Caan.
She loves Jimmy.
I love Will, but let's
I love Jimmy, and
did that to you. It was to anybody. Or Will Ferrell, and they kept doing, hey, I like this movie Anchorman, except for the lead. Oh, it's kind of hacky. Just because it's The Godfather. Thank you. That's all I'm saying. But let me hear the Jimmy Caan.
I asked him to be on the
Jimmy Caan blow up.
I asked him to be on the podcast, and I emailed him, and I knew I had to go through his assistant. And if I had to put this through an assistant filter, I knew it was going to get blown up. I knew it was going to get blown apart. I knew if I had to have an assistant explain to a 70s movie icon who's still current. Every 10 years, Jimmy Caan puts an Oscar-worthy performance up on the shelf for all of us.
And let me tell you what the 80s one was. Alien Nation. Nobody talks about one of the greatest performances of all time. You ever see that movie?
No.
He's amazing in it.
Are you being serious?
Yes.
Yes.
All right.
Great movie and a brilliant performance.
You guys are ready to fight.
Yes.
You guys would be a great tag team.
We're ready. We agree. We agree on all of it.
Quinn and Cox. That's your new morning team. Forget
Yes.
Artie Lang and DePaulo.
We're going to do Regis and Kelly.
Me and Nikki. Rape Kitten Crawl Space?
Wouldn't that work?
She said you guys would be rape kitten crawl space in the morning. So I knew if it had to go through an assistant, it's too hard to explain. It's hard for me to understand what a podcast is. And Kevin Smith explained it all to me, and I went, oh. But to have it explained to like a 66-year-old guy who walks with a limp because he got thrown off of horses a lot, he's in barroom brawls, lived at the Playboy Mansion, all of a sudden you're like, it's a podcast. It's on the internet. You download it. People listen to it when they work out. It's going to be confused. Somehow I thought through the prism of an assistant, it's going to go askew. So I emailed the assistant. I explained it all to her. She goes, let me talk to Jimmy. Then I emailed the assistant again, and she writes me back and says, Jimmy's on the board of directors of the Soho, Tribeca, Film Academy of Arts and Science, Texas A&M School for the Pituitary Gland of whatever. It's like this whole, it's a real thing, but I didn't know what it was. And she's said, he's worried that it would be a conflict of interest and he has to run it by the other board members. And I write back, I don't see how, if you ran the Caan Film Festival, it's a podcast. It's apples and oranges. There's nothing.
Yeah.
It's just my wife wants to make him dinner. They're old friends.
Right.
I just want to talk to him. I cannot explain how easy it is. And this is what I wrote that set him off. If Jimmy just doesn't want to do it and is saying this because he wants to let me down easy, he can just tell me my feelings won't be hurt. And I thought that was a nice way of going, just tell me to get fucked. I don't care. Right. He writes back from his email address, I don't have to fucking explain myself to you. I don't have to fucking explain myself to anybody. He doesn't say, Dear Jay.
Right.
And he goes, what do you think? I'm afraid of you? I'm not afraid of anybody.
Right.
That's the email. That's all I got back from Jimmy Caan. So then I got to write back, and I want to write back like, you know what? Fuck, you got this reputation. I'm trying to fucking reach out. And Nick said, no. Just be super nice. He's fucking Jimmy. He's earned it.
Yeah.
You just got to kiss the ring.
Yeah.
Say, I know. And she told me exactly what to write. But she's always right. Right. Always right. This one. And it's like, I know you wouldn't, I know you're not afraid. I mean, I know you wouldn't do this because you're not that kind of guy. When I think of respect and honor, that's you. And I just was giving you an out because it's a silly podcast and you just put out Oscars every 8 years, blah, blah, blah. And then he writes me back, no, I know. I got somebody looking into it. Don't even worry about it. It's like exactly what he needed to hear is what he heard. And
did he do it?
No.
But
you think he will?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, this podcast, Colin, is brought to you by Audible.com.
Oh.
And if you go to Audible.com/J, you'll get a 14-day free trial. You can get any book in the world. It's a huge selection. And even if you don't want to get a book at Audible.
Confederacy of Dunces.
Very good.
The Bible.
You can get the Bible, the most stolen book in the world.
No, she's saying Confederacy of Dunces is the Bible of comedy.
No, she's not.
You're not?
Audible.com/J will get you a 14-day free trial. And here's the thing. Here's what's important. Even if you don't want a book, just go to Audible.com/J because it helps the podcast and they count your click and your page views and stuff and it'll help the podcast.
Why wouldn't they want a book if it's free?
It's an excellent point. Did you like Confederacy of Dunces? I loved it.
Like it? It's the Bible of comedy.
They've been trying to make it with
I
Philip
know.
Seymour
I read the
Hoffman.
script. Steven Soderbergh. I read the screenplay he wrote years ago. I know all about it, believe me.
Here's the big flaw of that book. Putting that stupid fucking drawing on the cover. Because when I read the book, I'm picturing that stupid drawing instead of, in my own mind, creating one of the most fascinating men in literature ever. In my own mind, how I would picture him.
And I knew it. Well, I mean, they describe him in the book also.
Yeah, but I can't get past that stupid.
No, the picture's not good. But let me tell you, you're right. You're right, actually.
That's all I need to hear. This has been Mohr Stories. My guest has been Colin Quinn. We know it's Colin Quinn. It says it in the pod data. Stop saying it.
You're right, honey.
And I think, I do think that, but I knew somebody who looked and acted just like him.
Louis Schaefer.
This kid. Oh. The problem with that part, I'll tell you why they can't make that movie. Because I'm going to solve it for them right now. This is what I have to do.
Break it down.
You need an giant English booming voice actor to play that part. You need a big actor to play that part. With a big voice.
Big fat Russell Brand could kill it.
Oh.
I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding at all.
More of like an Oliver Platt type guy.
Yeah, but I'm saying you just make Russell Brand look that way.
If Russell Brand had the guts, which I'm challenging him right now to gain 150, he could do that part. But it's got to be 150, not 100.
He fascinates me.
Russell Brand?
Yeah.
What about 150? Why does he fascinate you?
Because when he does interviews, he just seems smarter than I'll ever be talking off the cuff.
But it's because English people have the greatest vocabulary.
Not all English people.
Sure they do. Who are you thinking of?
Keith Richards.
Oh. I read his book. Did you read his book?
It's great.
It was boring.
You're boring. Get closer to the mic, you fucking dope. You're a dullard. How long was your show on Broadway?
Keith Richards a dullard.
How long was your show on Broadway?
About 7 months.
Don't you think if you were more interesting, that would have ran for 2 years?
No, I think that.
I can't even believe I said that to you.
Why?
Because, listen.
What do you think I did? I mean, like I said, Broadway's not my little dream. I'm sorry. I was happy to be there 6 months. I was so happy to be done with it.
7 or 6. Now, see how we're going now?